In this episode, Golden and I discuss the Hulu animated series M.O.D.O.K. Full speed ahead.
The Omega Beam. Full power. The Omega Beam.
Welcome to the Omega Beam number 142. I'm your host, Orrin Merton. So, remember the before times in which Marvel Television was a separate division from the movie division, and it produced all kinds of TV shows from Marvel properties, and it scattered them on all kinds of stations. Here in the US, that meant shows on ABC, Hulu, Netflix, Freeform. Well, those days are done, and now Marvel Studios, the film studio, has taken over television, and they have the TV shows tie into the movies, and they all air on Disney+. However, before all of the Marvel television shows went away, one was allowed to finish on Hulu, and it was called M.O.D.O.K. And it's this really unique kind of stop-motion animation program. It's kind of like Super Mansions, if you saw that, or Robot Chicken. Really interesting animation style that's kind of old world, but also kind of modern. So we decided it was absolutely worth a look, and that's what we're talking about this week. Let's go. I am here with Golden to talk about M.O.D.O.K, the TV series, the stop-motion animation TV series that is streaming on Hulu in the U.S. I don't know where it's streaming outside the U.S., but what did you think of it?
I think it was a little slow to start for us, but it is Patton Oswalt.
It is.
So it's kind of hard to say no to it, even if it's a slow start.
And this was really his passion project. This was his baby. He even wrote a comic for Marvel based on M.O.D.O.K. because this is his thing. So he was 100% invested, and you can tell. It came through, I think, really well.
I thought it was a very nice little take on the supervillain and when things don't go right and how other supervillains treat other supervillains and how he treats himself in the end.
It was funny, but at the same time, it was poignant. And it's very adult, both in the sense that it's kind of gory, and so you wouldn't want a young child watching all this stop-motion gore, but also it deals with, like, midlife crisis issues, which are probably not particularly exciting to someone who's, a child. But it definitely resonated with us as adults, and I think that was Patton Oswalt's point. And what's interesting about this show is this is, I believe, the very last show done by Marvel Television, because Marvel Studios, the film production end, took over the TV. It didn't used to be that way. There used to be a separate division called Marvel Television, and they're the ones who did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Cloak and Dagger and The Runaways and other shows. I know there were a bunch at Hulu. I know Kevin Smith was going to do one animated show on Howard the Duck, and they all got canceled. All of them got canceled when Marvel Studios decided they were going to take over the television, except this one. M.O.D.O.K. was the one they left standing. I'm glad they did, because I think the visuals were great. I mean, if you like things like Robot Chicken, you already know the style of the animation. And I think it really worked for what they were trying to say.
I'm looking at the trivia on IMDb, and Nathan Fillion is part of this. And apparently, he also appeared on posters advertising a Simon Williams Wonder Man Film Festival as Simon Williams in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Did you remember that I told you that while I paused it to tell you that while we were watching
Apparently
it?
I didn't.
I didn't remember that. But yeah, I thought that was a nice stunt casting there.
Yeah, you definitely made your perception check on that one, because it even says in here the background element is almost impossible to see in the finished film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think M.O.D.O.K. is interesting because he's not necessarily one of the A-list villains. I mean, visually, he's impossible to miss because he's basically a giant floating evil head. But that kind of amounted to him being written off a little bit among the Marvel villains because he looks physically like less of a match for the superheroes, the Marvel superheroes. And so I think he often gets just sort of the man behind the curtain and otherwise not focused on. And I think that it was a great choice to make a TV show and to make a comedy about, though I guess it's a dramedy because it does get, serious about real family issues and things like that.
Yes.
But I think it was a great choice.
I think it's not just family issues, but workplace, work environment.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that can carry over, which is true of a lot of science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of science fiction can carry over into real life.
And I think they left it in such a way that if Marvel Studios liked this enough to continue with it, with maybe a season 2 on Disney Plus or something, there's definitely room left. That I'm pretty sure that by the time they were done producing this show, the production team knew that Marvel Television was done. And so they pretty much knew that it was going to be a one and done. But they left it open that if Marvel liked it enough, there's still gas in the tank. And I'd kind of like to see it continue.
Which is interesting because you weren't even sure after the first couple episodes if
I'd even continue.
Yeah, if you wanted to continue.
Like you said, it starts out really slow. When we were first watching, I was like, okay, so this takes a B-list Marvel villain and makes a workplace comedy out of it that is only kind of funny.
It's The Office.
No, but then as we watched
The Office.
Yeah, as we watched more and more, it got more and more engaging, more and more interesting. You started to care about both the characters and the plot, about what was going on with these characters. And it's not just finger twirling, I want to be evil. There's a great line at one point that I won't explain when or where it comes up because I don't want to give spoilers away, but there is a line where one of the villains says, I don't hate the world, I just want to change it. And I think that is kind of a theme of the villainy in this series. I know they say that the villain always thinks that they're the hero of their own story, but they really play that up here, that it's not about mustache twirling evil, ha ha ha, how many bad things can we do. It's about changing the world in a way that they see fit, but maybe others don't.
Well, it's a Thanos thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Marvel's pretty good at that, making up villains that aren't, mustache twirly evil. I mean, some have been mustache twirly evil, don't get me wrong, but not all. And Patton Oswalt did a very good job of making sure that M.O.D.O.K was not one of the mustache twirling evil ones.
He's someone that was bullied or was,
Yeah.
there's a reason for his madness. And,
right.
That's true of a lot of heroes. That's true of a lot of villains. It's true of just people in general.
Exactly. It's less about being evil and more about what will you do to get what you want.
Well,
especially when you think it's an improvement.
You always need to take over the world.
Right.
You should always be working to take over the world. What do you mean?
That's right. Just look at Pinky and the Brain.
We're Pinky and the Brain.
Exactly.
Brain.
So if you have the ability to watch this show, and
how can we watch the show?
On Hulu in the U.S. I honestly have no idea where it's streaming outside the U.S., and I don't think most countries get Hulu. So I am not sure where you can find it in your local market. But if it is available in your local market, or if you have a VPN and can tunnel into the U.S. and watch it that way, it's worth it. It's a good show. It's a more adult half-hour animated show that has some real laughs, has some real meaning, and there's only 10 episodes, so it's not a ton of time. And when you're done, you'll be glad you watched it.
I agree.
Well, thank you, Golden.
You're welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/142. If you liked this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Your reviews help people who like this stuff find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.
The Omega Beam. The Omega Beam. Full stop.